Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 18th of November 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to go through a mapping topic and then we are going to go through the important articles from the newspaper. Today I have selected the most important articles to discuss with you. And if you attend these classes regularly, it's going to build your understanding on current related events, right? You need a comprehensive understanding on current affairs so that you can sail through the prelims and mains exam in UPSC. Okay, so let us quickly see the list of articles that we are going to take for discussion today. So these are list of articles that we are going to take for discussion. These articles were there in the Hindu newspaper today, dated 18th of November. Okay, dated 18th of November. So it is 18th of November. And so these are the syllabus reference points. I mean, these topics are related with this area of the syllabus. And we have also mentioned the page number. What you can do is you can download this particular PDF from the description of the YouTube video. And this will help you to revise the topics, right? So let us quickly start the discussion with the first mapping topic. So the mapping topic that we are going to discuss today is Pacific Ring of Fire, okay? So this is Pacific Ring of Fire. So why we call it as Ring of Fire? What is Pacific Ring of Fire? We need to understand about it. Why? Because today there was an article in the Hindu newspaper that talked about that there was earthquake, right? A seismic activity in Philippines. And because of that earthquake, let's say few people have also died. And the earthquake that Philippines has experienced is a strong one. So if we talk about where is Philippines located, Philippines is an island nation, as we can see, right? Philippines is over here, right? So this Philippine plate that we see over here, it's a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. So Philippines is a region which is, let's say, very much prone to natural hazards. One of the natural hazard is earthquake, and the second natural hazard is, let's say, this particular thing, earthquake, tsunami, and they also can have volcanic activity. So when we talk about the Pacific Ring of Fire, so this is the ring of fire, let's say this is the line along which we can see many volcanic activities happening. All right. So this is, let's say, to understand deeper into it, we need to go into the, let's say, plate tectonics, right? So many of you may have heard about this particular thing. So let us quickly understand this. What? Pacific Ring of Fire. Why this Pacific Ring of Fire is so important for us? Because the thing is, this Pacific Ring of Fire is prone to, this particular region is prone to few natural hazards. One of the natural hazard is known as seismic activity. Seismic activity means we can see earthquake related events, right? We can see earthquake related events over here. Second is we can also see over here what? Volcanic activities, right? Volcanic activities are very much prone in this particular region. Because of volcanic activity, because of frequent eruption of lava, so that's why it is known as Pacific Ring of Fire. So this is why it is this is why it is important. But apart from this, if we go to the, let's say, physiology, if we go to the, let's say, geographical aspect of this particular thing, geographical aspect of Pacific Ring of Fire. So this Pacific Ring of Fire is part of Pacific Plate. And if we talk about Pacific Plate, it is a major plate. Pacific Plate is a major plate. So the thing is, to understand this, you need to understand about something which is known as plate tectonic theory. What? Plate tectonic theory. So according to the plate tectonic theory, the Earth's crust, the upper portion of the Earth, is made up of various plates, right? So it is made up of various plates. So some of the plates are known as major plates, right? Some plates are known as major plates and others are known as minor plates. Other are known as minor plates. And these plates can together be of, let's say, different types. These plates can be, let's say, called as continental plates. These can be called as continental plates, and they can also be called as oceanic plates, right? Both major and minor plates can be categorized into continental plates and oceanic plates. What do we mean by continental plates? Continental plates are those plates, let's say, like, that are lighter in density. Since they are lighter in density, so they have raised, let's say, above the sea level. All the continents that we see in the world, so they are part of continental plates. For example, we have Asian plate, we have European plate, we have American plate, like that. So they are continental plates. So continental plate, if we talk about what is the characteristics of continental plate, right? The continental plates are lighter, means, like, their density is low, right? Density is low in case of continental plate. In case of oceanic plate, these plates have high density, so their density is high. Since they have high density, so that's why they have subducted. And above these oceanic plates we have oceans, right? Continental plates have, let's say, like, low density. So to understand about Pacific Ring of Fire, you need to understand about plate tectonic theory. According to plate tectonic theory, the Earth's crust is made up of different plates, and these plates are not static plates. These plates are moving, right? They are moving, but their relative motion is very, very slow, right? Their motion is very, very slow. So the thing is, if we talk about movement of these plates, right? If we go into the idea of movement of plates, right? Idea of movement of plates. So how these plates are moving? These plates are moving, basically they have three different types of motion. So one of the type of plate is known as convergent plate, okay? This is known as convergent plate boundary, okay? Or convergent plate margin, okay? Convergent plate margin, or you can say convergent plate boundary. So what are convergent plate boundary? In that case, let's say there are two plates. These two plates are moving towards one another, right? So this is known as convergent plane. If they are moving towards one another, so the thing is, like, after they meet, so some portion of it which is denser, so they will subduct. The portion which is lighter, so they will come up, right? So the thing is, destruction may happen in the boundary margin, and it leads to the construction or making up of, let's say, like, mountain building happens over here. Then there are plates that are known as divergent planes, okay? There are plates that are known as divergent plates or divergent plate boundary. So in divergent plate boundary, what happens? These plates that we talk about, these plates are moving away from one another, right? These plates are moving away from one another. If they move away from one another, it will lead to the creation of fault lines. Fault lines will be created, and because fault lines are created, so magma will rise up. That will lead to a situation of volcanic activity, right? So volcanic activity, if we see the Pacific Ring of Fire, so we see volcanic activity over here, right? So that's the thing. And the third type of plate boundary is known as transform plate. It is known as transform plate margin. Transform plate margin or transform plate boundary. So in case of transform plate, these plates slide past one another, means like they move parallel to one another. One plate will be going up, other plate will be going down, and, like, so they will be like this way. So since they are moving parallel to one another, so it has very less impact on one another, but like still in the boundary lines there can be some kind of rift, there can be some kind of seismic activity can be seen. So whenever we have, let's say, different plates, right, moving, already plates are moving, So the thing is, it leads to kind of seismic activity. It leads to kind of, let's say, volcanic activity. So this Pacific Ring of Fire is associated with volcanic activity. It is associated with seismic activity. And today, this Pacific Ring of Fire was mentioned in the newspaper, right? So I hope you might have understood. So this is Pacific Ring of Fire is part of, like, is just around the boundary of the Pacific plate. And Pacific plate is a oceanic plate. It is a denser plate, right? So this plate is subducted. But nearby this plate, we have North American plate. We see it is a continental plate. So it is, let's say, like it has risen up. We have Eurasian plate, it has risen up. We have Indian Australian plate, which is also known as, let's say, Australian plate. So it is a continental plate, right? All those plates that you can see in yellow color, right, or light yellow color over here, they are continental plates. And the blue colored plates are, they are, let's say, oceanic plates. So for example, we have Nazca plate, we have Caribbean plate, we have this Philippine plate also. Right, so these are small plates. If we talk about Pacific plate, it is a large, let's say, like, these are large plates, right? So this is the thing. In your free time, give some time, some attention to understand more about, let's say, these plate margins, to understand about different types of major and minor plates, to understand about continental plates and oceanic plates, the difference between them, right? Since it is a newspaper analysis class, we are not going into much deep into it, but like we want to make you understand in detail about these topics. So apart from this, we have this particular article today. It says the geopolitical fallout of Israel-Hamas war, right? So we are going to look into this Israel-Hamas war related issue from a geopolitical point of view, right? So it says the geopolitical fallout of Israel-Hamas war. So before we discuss on this, I'll make you quickly understand where the warfare is happening, right? For this, like, we need to have a quick understanding about the map of, let's say, Israel, Palestine and all. So this is just a rough sketch, right? So we have drawn a rough sketch. So this particular territory is known as Gaza Strip. This is known as Gaza Strip. This territory over here is known as West Bank. And rest of the territory, which is encircled under yellow color, it is part of Israel. It is part of Israel. But the thing is, like, these Israeli people did not have their own territory, let's say, like, before 1948. Before 1948, during 20th century, from 1917 onward, the Israeli people have, let's say, migrated to this particular region, which is, let's say, like, which was earlier known as Palestine. So this entire territory was Palestine. And the thing is, like, in 1978, when they moved over here, right, so British government have supported the Israeli people to have their own home, right, in the Palestine region. So they said, they promised that, like, we will help in the creation of, let's say, national homeland for the Jews. So Jews, Jewish people are those people who are Israeli people. Then Palestinian people are called as Arab people. So the thing is, the British government has helped the Israeli people. British government has helped them, the Jewish people, to settle down in this particular territory. In 1948, they have declared that they are creating a state. And this was backed by the United States of America. Within 11 minutes, United States of America has supported that, yes, we recognize Israel as a different territory. So since then, let's say, a kind of conflict has arisen. And this conflict is between the Arab people, the Palestinian people, and the Jewish people. Jewish means Israeli people, right? So this conflict has happened many a times. In 1948 it has happened, in 1967 it has happened, in 1973 there was a war which was known as Yom Kippur War that has happened, and time and again warfare has happened because these Palestinian people wanted to take back their own territory. So earlier there were, let's say, some kind of liberation organization, Palestine Liberation Organization, that had the idea of, let's say, like, democratically getting elected and, like, let's say, like, assuming power, getting more power, but like radical groups have also emerged. So if we talk about Hamas is one such radical group. Radical in the sense, like, they basically want to take back their territory forcefully, right? Even with using force. Hamas is a political organization also, because like it was elected in the Gaza Strip. So Hamas means it's a kind of political organization, it's an armed group. So they got elected in Gaza Strip. They have around 35,000 people who are supporting them. And Hamas people have launched an attack on Israel on 7th of October this year. 7th of October 2023, they have launched an attack on Israel, and they have killed more than 1,000 people. More than 1,000 Israeli people have been killed in these areas, nearby bordering areas where the Hamas have conducted the attack. And soon after that, Israeli people have retaliated, and they are still, let's say, in an offensive mode. So they have killed more than 13,000 Palestinian people. They have killed more than 13,000 people in the Gaza Strip. And about 1,000 or 2,000 people have been killed in the West Bank also. So in Gaza Strip and in West Bank, there are people who are Palestinian people, right? So they are Arab people, basically. And Israel occupies this particular territory. To the west of it, over here, right? To the west of it, over here, we have Mediterranean Sea. Okay, we have Mediterranean Sea. And this Israel is, let's say, surrounded by, over here we have Egypt, we have Lebanon to the north, we have Syria over here, and we have Jordan over here. So these countries are surrounding Israel. So this is the present state of warfare that is happening. But if we talk about the geopolitics around it, right? If we talk about geopolitics associated with it, right? If we talk about geopolitics associated with it. To understand this, we need to understand which power is siding whom. So the thing is, like, the major powers that are supporting Israel, one of the major power is United States of America. Second major power is United Kingdom. So they are supporting Israel. What they are doing? They are supporting Israel in its own warfare, right? They are supporting Israel. And their support matters a lot for Israel, because both these countries, USA and UK, both these countries are member of the United Nations Security Council. United Nations Security Council is the most powerful body inside the United Nations system. In the United Nations system, we have United Nations General Assembly, we have United Nations Security Council. So in the Security Council, these two are permanent members, and these permanent members does have veto power. So the thing is, any resolution that the world is thinking of passing through the United Nations Security Council to bring a kind of ceasefire in this particular warfare, in this war zone, in the Gaza Strip, is being nullified because of the presence of these two parties, USA and UK, right? Apart from USA, UK, in the United Nations Security Council, there is France, there is, let's say, like, Russia and China. So they are three other countries. But the thing is, like, they are not vetoing any resolution. Apart from this, if we talk about Palestinian people are being supported. So this is one kind of, let's say, like, geopolitical thing. If we talk about the other powers, right? Other powers, or like Arabs, right? So Arabs means like Iran supports whom? Iran supports this, I mean, like, Palestine. Iran supports Palestine, and also Lebanon. They also support Palestine. There are many countries that are supporting Palestine, and there are some countries like who are opposing that the kind of warfare that Israel has launched on Gaza Strip is not right. So, like, many countries endorse this particular idea. Even in the United Nations General Assembly, they have passed a resolution, and that resolution have been agreed by 117 countries, right, to support a kind of ceasefire into that particular area. But the thing is, because of the continued support of these two powerful countries, right? So ceasefire is seems to be a distant dream. But at this point of time, the United States of America not only supported Israel when it proclaimed it to be a state. The thing is, like, United States of America helps Israel in many areas, right? With weapons, with financial support, unconditional support it provides. Because in USA, back in USA, there are many Jewish people who are citizens of the United States of America. They support the political parties, they provide funding. So the thing is, that's why Israel gets uninterrupted support from USA. That's the issue. And USA has also thought of normalizing the ties between Israel and, let's say, like, many other Arab states through a kind of treaty which is known as Abraham Accord, right? Abraham Accords. So what are Abraham Accords? These Abraham Accords, Abraham means a kind of religion, right? So Abrahamic religion is being followed by people of, let's say, Arab countries are following Abrahamic religion, means like Islam is a part of Abrahamic religion. If we talk about Jewish, they are also part of Abrahamic religion, but the thing is, they are different from one another. The historical context and the present context is different. But Abraham Accords sought to bring together Israel and Arab states. For example, Israel and Saudi Arabia, right? Israel and Saudi Arabia was on the path of normalizing their ties. Israel and Iran, it was also on the path of normalizing ties. Israel and Qatar was in the part. So many countries were there, like, who supported the idea of Abraham Accord. They wanted to normalize their ties, right? So the normalization has moved to a certain extent, but recently Hamas has conducted an attack. Since Hamas has conducted an attack, so Israel is doing retaliation. And the thing is, this has brought a rift into the Abraham Accord. So many countries, like, who were earlier, let's say, willing to normalize their ties with Israel, they have also backed. Now they are not supporting Israel. Even India has recently, let's say, changed its stance. So India wants a two-state solution over here, so that the Palestinian people and Israeli people, they can stay side by side. They should have their own territory, clearly defined territory, which are sovereign, right? They should be neighboring states, but they should not be in a state of warfare. This is the position of the government of India, right? Even, like, many countries recognize a two-state solution, but the group, Hamas group, they do not recognize a two-state solution. They want to take back the entire territory. They want to reclaim the territory that was earlier part of Palestine. That's the thing. But the thing is, Hamas is a relatively very small group of people. It has very small number of people. So the thing is, now warfare is happening. So the thing is, like, since this, I mean, like, there are geopolitics associated in this particular region. Recently, what has happened, China has also come forward over here. China also started playing role in this particular region. What China did, so China has worked on Iran-Saudi reconciliation. China has worked on Iran-Saudi reconciliation. What do we mean by this? Basically, if we talk about Saudi Arabia, in Saudi Arabia, the Muslim people who are there, they are Sunni people, Sunni Muslim, right? If we talk about Iran, Iran is a Shia majority country, Shia and Sunni. So Shia and Sunni have been, let's say, like, historically, they are anti to one another. They do not, let's say, like, they do not mingle with one another. But China has stepped up. They tried to bring these two countries together so that they can forget, like, the kind of differences that they may be having because of Shia Sunni thing. But the thing is, they should focus on the larger issue, of, let's say, Palestine and all. So China has also started playing role in this region, and China, like, whatever position China has, similar is the position of Russia. If we talk about China and Russia, they are also part of the United Nations Security Council. So in this article, they have discussed about the Abraham Accords. They have talked about the normalizations that had initially started, but it has taken a back seat because of the ongoing tensions. So in this article, the author says that with the Saudi-Israel peace plan derailed, right? Saudi-Israel peace plan derailed and the Iran-Saudi engagement deepening. So earlier Israel and Saudi Arabia were working on a peace plan because of the Abraham Accord, and since the warfare is going on, so this thing has got delayed. So what has happened? Now Iran-Saudi engagement has deepened and the United States is witnessing the limits of the Abraham Accords and the widening scope of the China brokered regional detente. Okay, means like this talks about the kind of geopolitics that is working in this particular region. Okay, so this is just one part of the perspective. There are, let's say, different ways of looking into it, and earlier also we have discussed in the Hindu newspaper analysis the different perspectives associated with the Palestine-Israel issue, right? Palestine-Israel issue. So that's the thing. So with this, let us quickly move to another article. This article is very, very good. This article is important for Indian economy section, right? It is important for Indian economy section. Why this article is important? Because in this article they have discussed about a report that is released by the International Monetary Fund. In this article they have discussed about the prospect, how Indian economy is growing. It criticizes also the government's stand related to not recognizing the stand, status of today's status of India's economy presently, right? So we are going to discuss all of it through this article. So let us quickly start discussion on the topic number 2, right? So this is going to be topic 2 for the day quickly after the mapping topic. So it is state of economy temper the euphoria. State of economy temper the euphoria. So let's understand about this topic. So to start the discussion, we are going to discuss about a report, right? And this report is released by the International Monetary Fund, okay? International Monetary Fund. And this International Monetary Fund is in short known as IMF. Why IMF is important? Because IMF is a Bretton Woods institution. So it is an institution that has been established after World War II. Why? So that they can reconstruct the world again that was devastated because of World War II, right? And International Monetary Fund has played various important roles across the globe. For example, in 1991, the Indian government was facing balance of payment crisis. So in the balance of payment crisis, we did not have let's say sufficient forex reserve, foreign exchange reserve. We did not have sufficient forex reserve, and since we did not have it, so the Indian economy could hardly survive 14 days of import bill. So that's why at that point of time, we needed support of international financial institutions. So we have approached the International Monetary Fund, and International Monetary Fund has supported India, right, to strengthen its economy. But they have given us some conditionalities that IMF said that we are going to support you, but you need to bring some structural change in the economy, right? What is structural change we have gone through? It is liberalization, it is known as privatization, it is known as globalization. So we have adopted LPG reforms, right? We have adopted LPG reforms in 1991, right? Through liberalization, globalization and privatization. So these LPG reforms have been adopted by India, and since then Indian economy has let's say moved towards a path towards a growing trajectory. So this International Monetary Fund, if it comes up with a report, that report is credible, because in International Monetary Fund there are a huge number of countries who are members of it. India is a member of it, and India has a substantial voting rights over here, right? maybe in some other lecture I may discuss about the structure of IMF. I may discuss about how different what is the quota system of IMF, lot of things. So recently in this article the author has discussed about a report that is released by the International Monetary Fund. What is the name of that report? It is known as World Economic Outlook. Okay, name of the report is World Economic Outlook. So they have named it also World Economic Outlook, and they have named it as Navigating Global Divergences, right? Navigating Global Divergences, right? So the thing is, this report was published in October 2023 by the International Monetary Fund. So this particular report is a semi-annual report. It is a semi-annual report of the IMF. What do we mean by semi-annual report? A report which is published once every 6 months, right? So 2 times in a year they publish this report. So it is published once every 6 months. What is the name of the report? World Economic Outlook, Navigating Global Divergences. Overall report is known as World Economic Outlook, but every 6 months that they come up with report, so they give it a different name, right? This is a series under the World Economic Outlook, and they have given the name Navigating Global Divergences. Means like, globally lot of divergences are happening. Means like, things are going like apart from the normal trend. How? Russia-Ukraine war, right? And if we talk about the Israel-Hamas war, if we talk about many other things, there are a lot of geopolitical tensions that are going through, that are happening. But like, this particular report talks about that how different economies around the world can navigate, can sail through these difficult circumstances. Okay, so this report was published, and why I'm talking about this particular report? Because this particular report has revised its projected GDP growth rate for India, right, for 2023-24 to 6.3%. Okay. So what IMF has done, it has revised GDP growth prospect of India. GDP growth prospect of India means like how Indian economy is going to grow. So they have said it is going to grow at 6.3%, right? And so this is for 2023-24, and this is talked by IMF through this particular report. So earlier the International Monetary Fund has said that India is going to grow at 6.1%, but now they have revised it. After revising, they have increased it by 0.02%, right? So they have increased it by 0.02%. Now it is saying that like, Indian economy is growing at 6.3%. But since Indian economy is growing at a rate of, let's say like, will grow at a rate of 6.3%. So some of the officials from the Ministry of Finance, right? Some of the officials from Ministry of Finance have, what they have done, they have started boasting about it. They started creating a euphoria. So in the, let's say like, title itself, we have the keyword euphoria. Euphoria means creating a kind of hue and cry. Yes, Indian economy is growing at this rate. But the author says that like, we just do not need to create euphoria about the revised estimates by International Monetary Fund. We also need to look at the critiques. Means like those people who are criticizing about, let's say, economic trajectory of India. We need to look at them. We need to look what are the factors that they are highlighting, and we need to work with them so that like, we can we can mold the path of growth for Indian economy, so that Indian economy actually grows like at its potential rate, right? That's the thing. That's what this author is saying. And author has also talked about like, let's say, inflation related things. So author has said that India's real annual GDP growth rate slowed down from 6.8% in 2016-17 to 2.8% in 2019-22. So over here we need to understand that earlier in 2016-17 Indian economy was growing at 6.8%. But if we talk about the overall growth from 2016 to 2019, it came down to 2.8%. And during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, what pandemic we are talking about? During the COVID-19 pandemic, right? COVID-19 pandemic. Our GDP growth has fallen by 25%, right? It has gone by, our GDP growth has fallen by 25%. It has gone back. And many countries in the world have faced this similar situation. But many countries have shown a steeper rise soon after the pandemic. Means like many countries have started, let's say seeing rise in the economic growth soon after the pandemic. And that has been the case with India also. And India is also growing now. So from minus 25% during the COVID-19, now we are growing at a rate of 6.3% as per the revised estimates of the International Monetary Fund, right? But the thing is, in this article the author also says, right, in this article the author also says another important factor. So so that factor is China factor, right? That factor is China. So the thing is, like, China is an immediate neighbor of India. China is 3 times the geographical size as compared to India, and China has huge manufacturing capacity. And since it has huge manufacturing capacity, India, like if we talk about the trade relationship between India and China, India is a very good importer of the things from China. So the thing is, like, we have a kind of trade deficit with China. What? We have trade deficit with China. What do we mean by this trade deficit? Trade deficit means what India does, India imports more, right? Our imports are greater than our exports, right? Our imports are greater than our exports to China, right? So if we see India-China trade relationship, India is importing more than it is exporting to China, and this is leading to a kind of trade deficit with China. And author says that we need to bridge the trade deficit, we need to bridge the gap, so that, like, we can also export goods to China. And if we want to be a trade surplus with China, we need to boost our manufacturing capacity. We need to look into those areas that are growing slow as compared to before. Earlier, like, in India, the manufacturing sector has started growing rapidly. But now, since service sector has paced up, somehow the attention of the government towards the goods, right, towards the manufacturing sector has gone down. So in this article, author said that manufacturing sector should be boosted up, right? Manufacturing sector should be boosted up by the government, and the government of India needs to incentivize the manufacturing activity in India. If we incentivize the manufacturing activities, then we will be able to, let's say, be our trade surplus in this case also. Okay, so that's the thing. So that's what is said in this article. So with this, we will quickly move to another topic. Okay, so finally the author says that official communicators should engage with critics in appreciating the gravity of economic setbacks rather than quibble over the IMF's short-term growth projections. So author says that, like, rather than just boasting up what the IMF has said, we need to focus on real-time growth in India. We need to focus on those sectors that has the potential of growing, and we need to incentivize those sectors also. Okay, so go through this article to understand little more, right, on the, let's say, like, data that are mentioned. So there are many, let's say, statistics, lot of statistics are given, so that will be important. Now with this, let us quickly move to this particular article. This is going to be the third topic for the day. It says building the floor. Building the floor means this is a topic from international relations. In this article, we are going to discuss about the relationship between United States of America and China. As we know that USA and China are rivals to one another. In many terms, the stand of the USA government and stand of Chinese government are anti to one another in most of the parameters. So the thing is, since their stand are anti, but recently the Chinese president has met with the president of the United States of America, Mr. Joe Biden. So after meeting, they have discussed about some of the important factors on which they can work together, right? They discussed about some of the important factors, and this is actually building the floor. Building the floor means they had a kind of gap earlier, but now they are thinking of bridging that particular gap. Since the two world leaders, the leader of the Chinese government and leader of USA, they have recently met. Since they have met, so they are bridging the gap, right? This is the thing. So in this article, they have talked about that, since these two leaders, which is USA, democratic country, China, communist country, they're totally anti to one another. If they can bridge the gap, if they can come closer to one another, why India and China cannot come closer to one another? Why cannot we solve the problems that we have with China? So the thing is, the problems that India has with China is related to border issues. What border issues? The border issues related to line of actual control. In the western sector of China, right, western sector, the northern portion of India. So if I just draw a rough sketch, and if I draw the rough map of India like that. So over here, let's say we have bordered with China, right? We have bordered with China. And also to the northeastern part of India also we have border with China. So we do have border related tensions with China in the western sector and in Arunachal Pradesh also. So the thing is, we want to build good relation with China by working on the, let's say, border area. So we want to solve that particular thing. In this article, the author says India should, let's say, learn, right? India should learn from this particular issue between USA and China, so that we can also work on resolving the border disputes that we have with China. Okay, that's the thing. So this is all, and these two leaders have recently met in the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting, right? So there was a meeting in the let's say San Francisco in the United States of America. So Chinese leader has also recently visited, so they discussed about this particular thing. So with this, we are moving to a question. So we are going to discuss this particular question in detail. It says, with reference to Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, consider the following statements. It says it is a regional economic forum established in 1989. It has 21 member countries including India. The Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation project funding is made possible by contributions from APEC members. See, India is not a member of Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. India has applied for its membership in 1991 itself, but the thing is, because of some kind of economic structures, India has not yet been included over here. So second statement is wrong. However, first and third are right. Okay, so I think the correct answer will be option B in that case. Okay, only two of them are correct. First and third are correct. Second is wrong because India is not a member. So there are 21 member countries of the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. These member countries' names are listed over here: Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Peru, Philippines, Russia, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, United States and Vietnam. So they are members of the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. India is not a member yet. Okay, so India has applied for its membership in 1991, but because of some kind of economic structure, some kind of economic problems, we were not included yet. However, India is the third largest economy in the world. Okay, so basically Indian economy is growing, so we are among the largest economies in the world. Now we have another topic. It says UN halts aid to Gaza amid communication blockouts. Okay, so again The map assumes importance. Over here we have what? Gaza Strip. And Gaza Strip is, let's say, like, bordered by Israel on many fronts. Only one front, only over here, we do have Egypt, right? We have Egypt, right? This particular territory is of Egypt. And here we have Mediterranean Sea. It is a sea region over here. So the thing is, any international aid or any international help that can come to Gaza, right, that can come to Gaza Strip, can come through this particular corridor through Egypt, because Israel itself is not going to support anything. But the thing is, any international support that is coming, that is also halted by Israel over here, because Israeli military have, let's say, like, come over here also in this region. So it says, United Nations halts aid to Gaza amid communications blockout. So recently, the Israeli government has blocked all the communication lines in the Gaza Strip. And since communication lines have been blocked, right, so help that the United Nations organization was extending to the Gaza Strip, it has, let's say, halted for some time. So this is what is mentioned in this article. They have discussed about an agency that supports the Palestinians, right, during the humanitarian cause, and this agency is known as UNRWA, right? So United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, known as UNRWA, it was unable to help. So this is what is mentioned in this article, right? So that's all. So with this, let's move to another topic quickly. This topic is again important. It says Japan PM raises serious concerns about military activity in talks with Xi. So as we discussed that Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, the meeting that we discussed, that, like, Chinese president has met with the president of USA. They are, like, the Prime Minister of Japan, right? The Prime Minister of Japan. This is Prime Minister of Japan. His name is Fumio Kishida. He has met with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. And after meeting with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, he has talked about the issues that lies in the Asia Pacific region. He has discussed about some of the concerns that Japanese government has with China. What concerns? Recently, Japanese government has, let's say, like, started releasing some of the water. These are known as nuclear waste water into the Pacific Ocean. And since they started releasing the nuclear waste water into the Pacific Ocean, Chinese government has banned all the imports of seafood item from Japan. So that's why Japanese government is not happy with it. Now, concern of Chinese president is that, like, the nuclear waste water that you are releasing into the Pacific Ocean, it is contaminating the water in the ocean. Right? It is contaminating the water in the ocean. So ocean should not be considered as a dump ground where you can dump any kind of waste, right? It should not be considered that way. However, the Japanese Prime Minister says that the nuclear waste water that we are draining into the Pacific Ocean, they are treated. And they are treated here, the level of contamination is much below, right, than the internationally approved level of contamination. Means, like, there is an international level of, let's say, contamination, let's say, like, out of this much is approved, but the thing is, they are releasing much lesser than that contaminated water into the Pacific Ocean. And what is that agency that actually sets the standard in this case? Name of that agency is known as International Atomic Energy Agency, right? It is International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. So International Atomic Energy Agency has some kind of standards that this much nuclear contamination is allowed, and beyond this it is not allowed. So, like, it meets that particular requirement. And also in this article they have talked about the current issue that is going on in the East China Sea and South China Sea. South China Sea dispute is, let's say, like, is a long standing one, and in South China Sea, China has a stand that, like, the entire region in the South China Sea belong to China. But there are many countries, for example, Philippines, Indonesia and Malaysia, etc. So they also assert that we also have sovereignty over some territory of the water. So that has been a long standing tussle. and this tussle has been resolved by one of the court which is known as Permanent Court of Arbitration. And Permanent Court of Arbitration has given a ruling in the year of 2016, and that particular ruling was against China. But China says we have historical rights over here. It has created something which is known as 9-dash line, right? It has created 9-dash line by establishing artificial islands over South China Sea. So this is all, okay, this is all in this article. Not much is mentioned. So we have another topic. It says, 2 dead as a strong earthquake shakes southern Philippines. Right? In the beginning, remember, today we discussed about Pacific Ring of Fire. Pacific Ring of Fire is a region which is volcanic prone, which is prone to volcanic activities. It is prone to seismic activities. So the thing is, this Philippines lies in the Pacific Ring of Fire region. And recently they have, let's say, witnessed a strong magnitude earthquake, which was 6.7 magnitude, right, on the Richter scale. So the thing is, in this article itself, they have mentioned about Pacific Ring of Fire. We discussed in detail. Here they have talked about how many people have been killed and all. But what was important from the exam point of view is that we understand about the Pacific Ring of Fire, that we discussed in detail, let's say, like, through the mapping section itself. So go through the mapping, right? Or like you can go through this video once again, the beginning part, to understand in detail about it. Then at last we have a topic from economy section. It says banks stock fall as RBI tightens rules. So when we talk about the Reserve Bank of India is known as banker of the banks. It is also the regulatory agency for the banking channel in India. All the banks in India are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. Whether they are non-banking financial companies or they are scheduled commercial banks. Scheduled commercial banks can be government banks as well as private banks. All these kind of banks are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India in India. So recently the Reserve Bank of India come up with some kind of stringent regulation related to the, let's say, retail section of the loans that non-banking financial companies extend to customers. And these loans are, let's say, unsecured loans, because, like, for these loans, they do not take any kind of collateral from the customers, right? They are unsecured loans. For example, loan on credit card, right? Loan on, like, if you purchase something through the e-commerce portal, so that is given on loan. So these things are unsecured loans. And since these are unsecured loans, so these loans have high probability of turning into non-performing assets. And this was raising the NPA bill book. Non-performing asset means customers have borrowed money from the banks or from non-banking financial company, but they are not returning it to the banks. They are not repaying the EMI, right? Monthly equated, right? Like equated monthly installments. EMI means equated monthly installment. They are not repaying it. And if they do not repay it, like for consecutively 3 months, if it goes beyond 90 days, so it turns into non-performing assets, right? So the unsecured loans was a kind of problem because it was increasing the non-performing assets. So recently RBI has, let's say, talked the Bajaj Finance, right, to stop giving loans in 2 of its verticals, right? One of the vertical was related to e-commerce, other was related to, I think, some credit card. So it has not only tightened the norms for this thing, it has also tightened the norms for other banks as well, okay? So the consumer loans that are provided by banks and non-banking financial companies, so, like, these are regulations have been tightened. Since their regulation has been tightened, so the thing is, like, in this stock market, right, you might be knowing stock market is a secondary market, like, their selling and buying of, let's say, securities or stocks happen through some exchanges. One of the exchanges, Bombay Stock Exchange, then we have National Stock Exchange and all. So in this stock exchange, the stock prices of banks, right, stock prices of banks have gone down. Even Bank Nifty has gone down, okay? So this is what is mentioned in this article. So it says investors flee bank stocks spooked by the RBI's stronger consumer credit rules that restrict unsecured lending. So BSE BankX falls 740.94 points or 1.48 to this thing, and bank nifty gaps down to below 44,000 marks. Okay, so stock prices related to banking has gone down. This is what is mentioned in this article. My discussion also takes you through the background so that you understand the topic holistically. So that's all, let's say, related to this topic. And we have a question over here for you. This question is related to how the governor of the Reserve Bank of India is appointed. So let us go through this question quickly. It says, consider the following statements. They have given 3 statements. We need to identify how many of the above statements are correct. One says the governor of the Reserve Bank of India is appointed by the central government. This statement is right. Second, certain provisions in the Constitution of India give the central government the right to issue directions to the RBI in the public interest. This is wrong. There is a RBI Act, Reserve Bank of India Act, RBI Act of 1934. So in the RBI Act of 1934, there are some provisions that allows the government of India to, let's say, to give directions to the Reserve Bank of India. But in the Constitution of India, nowhere mentions, right? The Constitution of India does not mention that government of India will have some authority over the Reserve Bank of India. It is through the RBI Act itself, 1934 of Reserve Bank of India Act, right? This is the thing. The Reserve Bank of India was set up on the basis of a recommendation of Hilton Young Commission. This is also right. So this is tracing back to the establishment of the Reserve Bank of India. First and third are right. So how many of these statements are correct? Only 2 of the above statements are correct. All right. So with this, let's say you can go through the explanation in your free time. So the RBI Act is there, and like RBI, Reserve Bank of India, was set up on 1st April 1935 on the recommendation of the Hilton Young Commission. That's the thing. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.